Welcome to the East Coast Reflector TechNet number 652 on this December 16th, 2025. Oh, been out Christmas shopping today. Just got home a short while ago, and wow, I hope I'm done for this year. Enough running around. I think everybody in Western New York was out this afternoon because it was a nice sunny day, cold but nice. Hi, along with Vicky, K8VKY, and Roger, K04QMM will be doing that here tonight. And as we have, I don't know, over the 2 months, Charles is here tonight with an opening monologue, if you will. He's going to talk for a minute tonight. I got an email here a little while ago. He's going to talk on Twitter. Then I'll send it up to Kevin, V3BZ, and see what we have in our swap and shop for tonight. And we'll take stations with questions, amateur radio-related questions. Hopefully we'll have some good questions. And then we will... I'll turn it over to Roger, and he will take the first 10 text check-ins that came in. And after he gets done with those, we'll take radio check-ins and go back and forth. So let me go over to you, Charles. Good evening to you, KC6UFM. What words of wisdom do you have for us tonight? Good evening.
Good evening, Dick. This is Charles, KC6UFM. Many thanks to you and Vicky and Roger for herding cats here tonight. But as far as the question is concerned, again, you forgot to read it, though, Dick. As far as the question is concerned, yes, I have tested a tube in a tube tester, and in fact, I still have a tube tester. And just as a extension of that, I've tested tubes in a tube tester that was inside of a drugstore. So I know I'm dating myself, but that's the way things are. But tonight I'll just talk briefly about antenna tuners. And anybody who's read the Antenna Farm articles knows that I don't like that term, antenna tuner, because the device does not tune your antenna. You have to make physical changes to your antenna to tune it. What we call an antenna tuner is actually just a matching network that provides a good match between the antenna, regardless of what its parameters are, and something that your radio will be happy with and hopefully not fry the finals. But there's two basic types of tuners. There are internal tuners. A lot of newer radios have a automatic tuner, and then there are external tuners that, amazingly enough, are tuners that are not built into the radio. With the externals, there's two types of those. There's what I call a local tuner, which is one that is inside the shack, usually very close to the transmitter, just a short foot or two jumper to get between them. And then there are the remote ones that go out inside near the antenna feed point. That difference is important because a local tuner will only match the feed line end to the transmitter. The high SWR still exists on that feed line, and so do the losses that are associated with that. With the remote ones, they're right at the antenna, so the feed line from the tuner to your radio has a very low SWR and therefore a very low loss. So they do matter. Let me do a quick reset here. Okay. Typically, the internal tuners that are built into your radio and the average run-of-the-mill tuner, especially auto tuners that are external, they have fixed value capacitors and inductors. And those are switched usually by a series of relays, either mechanical or solid state. And the problem there is you may not be able to get a perfect match because there are discrete steps between those components. They are cheaper that way, but by and large they tend to work pretty well. But keep in mind that you may not be able to get an absolutely perfect match. In practicality, you don't really need one, but that's just the way things are. The higher-end units, however, especially the externals that are local, they will have a roller inductor, which is just a variable inductance. Usually has a little crank on it and a turns counter to where you can tune that inductor to a very precise setting. And similarly, they have variable air capacitors in them that you can also adjust pretty much infinitely for minimum value. And that adds a lot of expense, especially that roller inductor, but they do work much, much better. But they're not automatic, so you need to learn how to use those. Let me do another quick reset. Okay, by and large, for almost all HF antennas that are multi-band, there are a few exceptions. A lot of end-fed half waves, you won't need a tuner, but by and large, you're going to need a tuner for HF multi-band operation. With the end-fed, both the end-fed half wave and the long wire type, usually you can get by with the built-in tuner or with a fairly simple external tuner, although especially with the long wire, you're going to have better luck with a more higher-end unit with a roller inductor and air variables. But tuners are rarely used on VHF and higher frequencies because the band spread tends to be much wider, and you can usually get by without one. However, there are times that you might want to have a UHF or VHF tuner. Mostly those are going to be weak signal types of work, satellite work, weak signal CW or sideband, maybe some space operations, EME, that sort of thing. But by and large, just for everyday repeater use, you don't need a tuner. For 2 meters, 1.25 meters, 70 centimeters, and so forth. You just don't need them. If you tried to build one, which you can, the higher you go in frequency, the smaller those capacitance values get especially. And you reach a point where you're not really using a capacitor in the traditional sense, but you're actually taking 2 strips of wire, insulated wire, twisting them together and untwisting them and using that as a variable capacitor. It works. It doesn't look real good, but it does work. But by and large, again, for HF, you're going to need a tuner. If you happen to have one of the newer radios that does have a built-in tuner, my best suggestion to you there is to put your antenna up, get on the air, and try that built-in tuner. If it works, great. You're in good shape. You don't need to do anything else. If it doesn't, then maybe you need to start looking at something a little more sophisticated than the built-in tuner. So back over to you, Dick. KC6 UFM, back to net control.
Thank you as always, Charles. Back in my day, I can remember it was called the Matchbox, Johnson Matchbox. They were not antenna tuners back in the day. They had the right terminology, matchboxes. I don't know where, we've talked about this many times in the Zoom room, I don't know where Matchbox Lust and Tuner came in. It must be the later manufacturers, but it was always a matchbox, and that's exactly what it was. And I was lucky enough, as I recall, the Johnson matchboxes, they made 2. They made a high-powered one and a lower-powered one. I remember saving my pennies for a long time. I finally ended up with the lower-powered one. I do remember that. And, but that was, back in the day. And yes, Charles, I worked in a drugstore that had a tube tester. I tested hundreds of tubes for customers that probably didn't know how to do them. It was always kind of a funny because they'd come in and spend all kinds of money and tubes and go home and it didn't fix their problems, So I do remember those days. But I had this question in queue for a while, and I got home late here tonight and really didn't come up with anything. So I thought it might be interesting. Have you ever tested? Have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? Have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? I know some of the older people will remember. I don't imagine the younger people, probably by, I don't know, late 70s, I would say, kind of phased out, but you used to find testers all over the place to test your television and radio tubes and so forth. So, a couple of announcements here tonight. They probably should have made earlier. Tomorrow night is Wednesday of open mic night. Come join the team at 8 o'clock for open mic night on the East Coast Reflector, of course. And then Thursday night is the third Thursday. Yep, I think I'm right. The third Thursday of this month. So that'll be Asking Elmer, Being Elmer. Come join us in the Zoom room at 8 o'clock. It's always a fun couple of hours in Ask the Elmer, Being Elmer. So 8 o'clock in the Zoom room. We'll probably advertise that a little bit. And coming up, we got to get our letters into Santa Claus. That is a must here in the next couple of days, because I guess Vicki got a phone call or an email from Santa, and I guess he's got to get these letters in by Friday, if I'm not mistaken. He's been so busy. Apparently, he's way behind on making toys, so he needs a few extra days. So we got to get the letters into Santa by Friday. And when I say the letters, you can send a letter to anybody. You can Santa will read a letter from you to your son, to your daughter, to your wife, to whatever. We want to make it fun. And so get your letters in, and it's the same line as we had, the email addresses we had last year, ecrhohoho@gmail. ecrhohoho, just HOHOHO @gmail.com. And Santa will read those on the 20th at 8 o'clock online. You'll read them on the 20th, and then Santa will be live on Christmas Eve on the 24th at 8 o'clock. So come join us here if you can on Christmas Eve as well. And once we get through Christmas, we're going to do New Year's Eve. We're going to start at 8 o'clock. Our youth are going to be here. Some of our youth, two of our youth, are going to be here, and maybe we'll have some 30-party youth come in. We're going to go right through the midnight hour with different net controllers. We want to get as many people as possible in the Zoom room. As well. So bring your New Year's Eve hat, put it on, and let's have some fun in the Zoom room and in the air. I told the net controllers we're just going to kick it around. No real, somebody can, be on for 10 minutes, kick it over to somebody else, and we'll just keep it going. I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe general discussion. Maybe we'll get in a little bit early and discuss what everybody wants to do for the evening. But it should be fun. Just stop in. If you can't stay with us more than 10 or 15 minutes, drop in, say hello on the radio or in the Zoom room, and we'll have a good time on New Year's Eve. Vicki and I have done New Year's Eve for a couple of years previous to this, and I don't think we advertised as much as we did this year. And we didn't start at 8 o'clock. I think we started at 10 o'clock or something. So we should have a good time. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Let's go to Kevin, VE3BZ. Kevin, what do you have for us tonight on your swap and shop? Good evening.
Well, thank you, Dick, and good evening to you and everyone on the net. This is Kevin, VE3BZ, with tonight's swap and shop portion of the net. But first I'll answer the question tonight. And that is a big no from me. Never done that. And probably never will. Anyway, okay, starting us off with our swap and shop here, we have Les, KK4SED in Claremont, Florida. Has 6 radios for sale. Radio number 1 is an ICOM ICV82 handy-talkie with charger, asking $65. And the buyer pays shipping, which is $10.35, and that is the shipping cost for all of these items, by the way. Radio number 2 is a Bofang UV82 5-watt handy-talkie with charger and 2 spare batteries, asking $25 plus shipping. Item number 3 is a Bofang UV5R 5-watt handy-talkie with charger and 2 spare batteries, asking $20 plus shipping. Item number 4 is actually a pair of Bofang 888s. Handheld radios with 2 chargers and 5 spare batteries, asking $40. Item number 5 is the Yaesu FT 1900R 2-meter VHF transceiver, asking $130 plus shipping. And item number 6 is a JT6188 Plus dual band mobile radio, asking $225 plus shipping. And Les is good on QRZ, so just email him with any questions you may have if you're interested. Let me reset for a sec. Alright, our second listing is from Joe, KC3 JDL in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Joe has a Gates Harris HFL-3000 HF amplifier for sale. It's a 3 kilowatt commercial grade amplifier, manufactured in approximately the mid 60s and was modified to run single phase 220 volt. The tube is a 4CX 3000 and is tested good. Last run, this amp produced 2.5 to 3 kilowatts key down continuous. Comes with all documentation, operations, and schematic from Gates. Specs are, I messed that up. Comes with all documentation, operations, and schematics from Gates. Specs are available online, always kept indoors in a non-smoking environment. Knowledge and proficiency in amplifiers is a must. This is not an SB220. As is condition, no warranty, local pickup only, asking $4,200. And Joe is also good on QRZ if you are interested. And that's all I have for this evening. If you have anything that you want to sell or looking for anything or have something to trade, just go to eastcoastreflector.com, contact ECR and SwapNet submissions, or just email me directly at mycallsign@rogers.com. Back to you, Dick, VE3BZ.
Thank you, Kevin. Oh, you never know to test the tube one day or another. I remember Henry a couple years ago. He was looking to buy a tube tester, and he was having a hard time. And they were going for a lot of money. Like Charles said, they used to be up in the drugstore. So we'll have a little fun with it tonight. I'm sure the old timers will remember testing tubes. All right, let's get started. Stations with amateur radio related questions. Give us your call sign. We'll see what we can do to find an answer for you. Once again, this is Dick, WB2JPQ, along with Vicky, K8VKY, and Roger, KO4QMM. Call signs twice, please. Stations with amateur radio related questions. Well, that was a big pile up tonight, Vicky, wasn't it? Where's everybody? Out Christmas shopping tonight? Stations with questions. Come on. Somebody break the ice here. That's what happened last week. We went a couple minutes, nobody said a word, and then we had some great questions. So who wants to break the ice here tonight? We don't bite. We're all a big happy East Coast Reflector family here.
For BJM.
Here's a uniform and an AM. Everybody's quick game, but that's okay. The station with uniform. Go ahead. Your call sign twice, please, and then we'll get back to the station at AM. And at the uniform station, call sign twice, and good evening.
X-ray uniform. That's
Rating still quick keying, but we got it. VA7XU on Echo Link on our conference server. Yep, VA7XU. Good evening, and I'll have the AM. Well, let me take, who was the station with AM and the suffix? Your call sign, please. Station that had AM and the suffix.
I did double with somebody. It was K4PJM.
Many years, 20-some plus years. VA7XU. Our question tonight, gonna maybe date some of the people, but have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? Have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? And then we'll take your question. Good evening.
Yeah, very good. Name here is Dave, Delta Alpha Victor Echo, located in Quesnel, BC. I'm on our link, HF link. I have a question. I'm sorry. Yes, I absolutely have. I've been in it for 30, 35 years, so for sure, I sure have, and still do from time to time. Question is, we just connected the VE7LFN node and caught the end of the swap shop. I wondered, can you tell me if this is a regular day and time for that feature for the swap shop? We'd like to connect more often. Well, we're going to anyway, but that was something to take note. Over.
We've been here for 600 and, what was it here? Gotta look. 652 weeks consecutively, 652 weeks. I'll let you figure that out. That's 12 and a half years, something like that. I think in June it was 12 years. So we've been here at 8 o'clock on the East Coast Reflector for many, many years. We had several hundred, maybe around 400 connections between All-Star and IRLP, the digital modes, and so forth. So we have a lot of nets on the East Coast Reflector. We have a morning brew every morning from 7 to 9. Get around 140 plus check-ins in the 2-hour time frame. Kind of a fast-moving net. So come join us here. Set your macros up. But yes, to answer your question, we're here every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock East Coast time.
Well, great to know. Thanks. And yeah, we'll be definitely checking it out again. Good to meet you all here, and often posts to our Facebook group, Ham Radio Enthusiasts, so we know of her. And great what you guys are doing. We appreciate it all. So I'll sit back and you can take somebody else there. VA7XU.
Our system says you have a current email address on QRZ, so the system will automatically send you a welcome letter sometime tonight. I think it's going up after midnight. I don't know. I keep saying that I don't know out here, and I haven't asked. Everything's pretty much automated here on the East Coast Reflector. Something fails, so we don't worry about it, but you will be receiving a welcome letter which will tell you all about the nets and times and so forth. And we do have a Zoom room. There's a whole bunch of people in our Zoom room tonight. Probably heard the rest. So go to eastcoastreflector.com and you can get into the Zoom room through that. It's probably the easiest here tonight. Follow along on the fetch log. All that information is on the website. Good evening to Perry, KPJM. I think you're somewhere in the Zoom room. I saw you. There you are, Perry. Nice to see Perry in here. Go ahead, Perry. You know the drill. You answer our question and we'll take one from you. Good evening.
Well, good evening, Dick, Vicky, and everybody in the Zoom room. Yes, actually, it brought up a memory. Many, many years ago, probably married only about maybe 10 or 15 years, I drove by a shop one time and it said, going out of business sale. And it was a CB radio and TV repair place, and I bought everything he had in the building, which included a tube tester, tubes, signal tracers, and I knew nothing about any of it. My wife was so happy when I brought that home that she was very excited I converted the basement. My question actually is to tell you how much of a novice I am. I just got my first DMR radio in Anytone, and I've been playing with it for a day or so. It came pre-programmed from a friend. The question is, I know if you can hook it up to a... I guess I timed out. I know you can hook it to a hotspot, and you can use DRM, and then there's also repeaters. Does the radio go out to DRM all on its own, or do you have to do a repeater or go through a hotspot? That's my question. K4 PJM, back to net.
I'm sorry, Perry, got me a little confused. You got a hotspot and a DMR. It depends on the hotspot. Let's back up. Do you want to get on DMR or do you want to get on All-Star? Let's start there. And what do you have? What kind of a hotspot are you talking about?
Well, I don't have a hotspot yet. I just picked up an Anytone 878 that was already programmed for DMR, and I was just curious about what do you need to get onto DMR. I know that there's local DMR repeaters here in Florida, and you can use a hotspot, but does the radio itself just go out to DMR? That's how novice I am.
The 878 is an Explorer. You could go analog or DMR with it. And if you got a DMR repeater in your area, you're in the Leesburg area, I don't know what's there. You'd have to look if there's a DMR repeater. And let's say if the C bridge is open, let's assume it's a C bridge driven DMR. If the C bridge is open, you can just connect up to one of our two DMR inputs, if you will. We have two of them, 312-9973, and I guess I don't have the new one committed to memory, but again, it's on the website. We can get it for you. And if you go in with a DMR radio into a DMR repeater and connect to us, yes. If you got a hotspot, you're going to need a digital hotspot to go in and get to us on DMR. But that radio will do analog as well, so I certainly would recommend getting an all-star node and starting that, and maybe eventually, if you really want to play with the digital modes, go to digital. But we're kind of analog guys here on the East Coast Reflector. We like our good audio, and we kind of call I won't even go there. We kind of we have names for some of the digital modes. They're all good. It's just that the audio is not anything like the audio on All-Star. I hope that answered your question.
It sure did. I really appreciate it. Joe was going to work with me eventually about it after first of the year, but it's just something I've been experimenting with and playing with. Thank you very much for your help. K4 PJM, back to net.
Yeah, I just don't remember if there's any DMR repeaters in your area. I really don't. I used to winter there in Central Florida. I just don't remember what is there. A lot of them in Orlando. There's quite a number of them, and I know of one. Don't ask me which one it is that has access to ECR. That the bridge is open that you can get in. But we don't hear very, very seldom do we ever hear anybody coming in through any of those DMR repeaters in Orlando. South Florida once in a while, but not Central. All right, thank you, Perry. Good to see you in the Zoom room. All right. Perry broke the ice here tonight. Who else do we have with an amateur radio question? This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
Echo 2, FTG, Kilo Echo 2, Foxtrot, Tango Golf.
Just set up real quickly on the balcony without having to get too cold out there. Well, we wait for Mike to reconnect. KE2 FTG. He didn't unkey. We actually disconnected him. We'll have to see if he comes back. Let's move on. We'll leave him in queue, Vicky. And who else has got an amateur radio related question? Mark will probably come back. He'll have to reconnect to our conference server on Echolink. Who else we got amateur radio related questions?
Yes, this is Eli, KE2 GWN.
It was KE2TWN. You sound terrible. Sounds like you got your hand over your microphone. Either that or you're running a Bofang with a remote speaker mic. Either one of the two. Maybe you can improve a little bit. Give us your call sign again if you would, please. If it's a Bofang remote mic, take it off and you'll sound just fine.
I'm going to try to switch, 1 second, I'm going to switch to the Echolink on my phone, will be better.
A little bit, that was a little bit better. Still sound kind of muffly, but you were at least a little bit more readable, if that makes any sense. So. All right, let me get you up in queue here as well. Who else has got a question tonight? Gee, we get go through the whole net without being able to talk to anybody until everybody gets their equipment fixed to get in here tonight. Who else we got? Amateur radio related questions. Call signs twice.
This is KE2GWM, again KE2GWM, and my question, this is Eli, and I had a question about HF antennas, if I may ask.
Go right ahead. KE2GWM, we're just loading you up. Yep, there it is, Eli. We didn't, well, you're coming up in New York and you're you were coming through Orlando, so I guess maybe you're visiting. Yeah, go ahead. Charles is here and others, so go ahead, Eli, and ask your question. And we got one for you. Have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? We're probably going to date ourselves, but have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? And then go ahead and ask your question to Charles.
Negative on the tube. No, and my question, I just picked up a and I'm looking for a simple to install antenna that could my property up here in York. I got stations to be out in the cold, and I want something that I can set up real quick and get on the HF bands, and without a lot of fiddling around outside, and at least for the winter time.
Eli, just for my sake, are you connecting, you're coming in on ECR 9050, are you connected somewhere else? Are you connected directly to ECR 9050, our Echolink conference server?
No, I'm connected on the Echolink app on my iOS phone there.
But you're connected to ECR 9050, I guess. You did a lot of packet loss, and so did the VE7 that came in. I thought maybe you were connected to him, because he's showing up coming in on our conference server. So, and you threw me off because your address is New York, and before you came in through Orlando. But I'll send it up to Charles. You were kind of difficult to understand, but it sounds like you've got a rig you want to use in the field, and you're looking for some sort of a portable HF antenna. He didn't say what band. Charles might question on that, but over to you, Charles.
I say thank you, Dick. This is Charles, KC6UFM. Good evening, Eli. I see you're new to the East Coast Reflector, so welcome to that. But, yeah, there's a number of questions that we would have to have answered to be able to give you some valid information. And first of all, I understood that you're looking for something to run off of your balcony, but Dick heard something different there, so maybe you can clarify that. And also, as Dick mentioned, what bands that you are interested in, or if you're just interested in a single band, and then also how much room do you have? I understand you want something quick and easy because of the weather, and I understand that. But if you could answer those three questions, that would help out a lot. On that, Eli, you got way too much packet loss. Maybe let me kick it back over to Dick here, see if he maybe has a suggestion there to help you get rid of some of that packet loss. Back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM.
Quickly and take it down when I'm done.
Right, that's how why I was asking him how he was coming in. Well, why don't you try it again there, Eli? You should be okay. Why don't you ask that question again, see if we can hear you this time.
Yeah, hopefully I'm clear now. I don't know if someone's stepping on me, but anyway, I was saying you got my question correct. I was looking to put something on the balcony. Outdoors, it's cold up here in New York, and I got a Zygu G90. It's a multi-band radio. I was looking to do from 10 meters to 80 meters, and I wanted something pretty easy to set up so I don't have to spend a lot of time outdoors while it's cold out, and to maximize using those bands. And I have about a 12 by 12 space on the balcony. I hope this is coming in clearer.
Much better. Go ahead, Charles.
All right, yeah, we got the information there now, Eli. With the Zygu, the best option that I would suggest for you is getting just a mobile mount, like a mirror mount that truckers use for their 11-meter antennas, clamping that on the balcony railing, or coming up with another way to clamp something on there, and then using they go by a number of different names, ham stick, shark sticks, things of that nature, and just kind of dangle a wire down from there as the counterpoise, and that will work pretty well for you. The disadvantage there is every time you want to change bands, like say you want to go from 20 meters to 12 meters, you're going to have to go outside and change that stick antenna. But that will work for you, and it will be very quick and very easy and not too painful on the pocketbook. But another option would be the Yaesu ATAS 120, which is effectively a screwdriver type antenna that most Yaesu radios can control it directly, but it is tunable from 40 meters all the way to 2 meters. Well, I'm sorry, all the way to 440 to 70 centimeters. And when you're not using it with a Yaesu radio, there is a manual control box that you can use to adjust it to tune it to the bands that you're on. And that also can be got with a mount that includes some radials on it, things like that, that's designed to go on a balcony, just like. But those are a little pricey. Last time I looked at one, which was a couple of years ago, they were around $350 to $400. So it's not exactly pocket change, but you probably won't need to go out and get a mortgage or anything like that. But they work very well, and they'll do very fine for you in that situation. But on the cheap, using the ham stick or the shark stick, there's a few other names out there for them. Those are going to be much less expensive. But the trade-off is that any time you want to change bands, you're going to have to go outside and change the antenna. So back over to you, Dick, KC6 UFM.
Thank you, Chuck. I know a lot of guys, and we've talked about so many times over the years. A lot of people use ham sticks on balconies too. Hope Eli did that. I hope that answered your question.
Yes. In fact, that answers my question. I get two good options. I'll look at the ham sticks with the sharp stick and some kind of balcony mount to tap into the railing, or this Yaesu. So those are definitely two good options for me, and I appreciate it. And I'll do some further research, and thank you very much.
I had a question before. When you were on RF, you were, at least it showed you were coming through 444 to 8, our ECR downtown Orlando repeater. What kind of a radio were you running? Were you running a Bofang by any chance with a remote microphone? We get all these others, stop from. Sorry, Eli, you're just unreadable. I don't know what you got going, or maybe you got a bad path on Echolink coming into our server, but you were good, and you just are unreadable. So my question was, it sounded like we have a lot of problem with people with Bofangs, and they put the Bofang remote mic on, and they sound like you do, muffled. And some of those Bofang mics are garbage. We have bushel baskets full of them here that people have thrown out. We were saving the cords for them. But I was just going to tell you, if that's the case, that's certainly what it sounds like. Take the microphone off of it, but I could be 100% wrong. Thanks anyway. Maybe you can get a better signal into the RF side. Let me go to Mike. How about, did you come back, Mike, KE2FTG? You didn't unkey. You left your carrier on. We had to disconnect you. Mike, are you back?
Well, thank you, Dick. Yes, I am KE2FTG. I didn't know what happened. I saw I was disconnected and didn't know what was going on. Off to Dunn's Corner, I suppose. I can answer the question. Yes, I sure do remember changing tubes, and I have a related question for tonight. Who remembers sticking their head in the back of the TV and getting that funky ozone smell? I remember it being very distinctive. And when I went off to college and took some chemistry courses, I recognized what it was finally. Thank you, Dick, Becky, and the crew. Back to you, Dick.
The ozone smell, well, not really a technical question, but I guess we could put it out and see if anybody remembers. Yeah, that might not be a good question for the generation. I don't know. I guess that would be a good question someday. What age group are we actually entertaining here, or talking with on the TechNet? But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. But I don't know, does anybody remember the ozone stall? I guess Mike wants to know that, and then we'll go on with the amateur radio related questions. Mike, you're not old enough to remember. Let's move on here. Amateur radio related questions. Let's get the ball rolling here. We got 45 past the hour already. This is Dick, WB2JPQ.
W2AJR, W2AJR.
We have key ups tonight. Andy, W2AJR. Good evening to you, my friend. And what might your question be?
Well, this is probably going to be a Charles question. I got two Motorola XPR 6580 900 megahertz handhelds. They have different inputs on them, but both say they're for megahertz. I programmed them the same, 3 repeaters and 2 simplex channels. Both handhelds hit the repeaters, and both of the handhelds can talk to each other on one of the simplex frequencies, 902.5, and the other simplex frequency is 927.5. The one, let's call it the skinnier antenna, cannot hear the other radio on 902.5, but it works perfectly every place else and on 927. Now, when I swap antennas from one rig to the other, the problem follows the antenna. But the antenna works every place else except for 902.5. What the heck could be wrong inside that antenna that would attenuate just that one frequency? Thank you, Dick.
That is a strange one. A lot of 900 antennas have different flavors. Some are longer than others. They're stubby and so forth. But, man, I have never, ever seen that. I don't have an answer for you. I guess get together with you sometime and I don't know. I guess I wouldn't have a guess. Anybody want to take a stab at what might be going on there with Andy?
Oh, and by the way, I didn't answer the question, but yeah, I have a tube tester and I use it regularly, so I do remember. Thank you, Dick, again.
Right. It's yes on the tube tester. Sorry, we can't say we can help. I have no idea. I've never seen anything like that where swap antennas and the problem follows the antenna. You know, for some reason it's just a dead short. Can you see when you key? Does it key and everything? It seems. It seems. Do you get any other indication on what happens to the radio you receive on? Absolutely nothing. There's no carrier, no nothing.
No, it receives. It's weird. It'll receive a signal from the radio that's working, the antenna that's working, but the signal is weak. And when you key up on that radio with that weird antenna, it does nothing. There's no indication, no static, no nothing on the other radio. But again, you change frequencies, and it's fine, perfectly fine.
Andy, I don't know. I never heard of it. We had a factory here in Western New York and we had quite a UHF or a 900 network back around 2007, and we did a lot of playing, and we had work, and I never Never experienced that. I don't know. Guess I would have to start and get rid of that antenna and start with that. It might be the easiest. I can't believe it's the antenna. But anyway, thanks, Andy. And I want to tell everybody, Andy, W2AJR, Andy from Cheektowaga, New York, he's coming on board with the East Coast Reflector team here, and he's taking Scott, W2BLT's place sometime mid-January. So you'll be hearing Andy hopefully regularly on here. And we've been waiting for Andy to retire because Scott wanted to retire from the morning brew, so it all worked out. So Andy, welcome aboard, and I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from you, and come in our Zoom room so we can say hello. All right, anyone else has got amateur radio related questions? We're not doing too good. Andy's got a real dilemma here tonight. I don't have an answer for that. Anybody else? Amateur radio related questions?
Sierra, KA5GS.
Oh, Shane? KA5GSS. Good evening to you, Shane.
My question's revolving around dipoles. I'm going to install a dipole up into some oak trees, and I've read that you need to insulate the wire from the tree. And I guess my question is that true? Because actually the wood is insulated, but it's saying you need to like attach an insulator to the tree and then run the dipole antenna wire through that. Don't let it rest on the oak. And I've read both ways. So anyone with clarity has tried it either way, or is it a myth? Or I don't know. Let me know what you think.
I'll send that one over to Charles. I've used insulated wire, had long wires to, I don't know, 800 or 900 feet down through the woods, maybe even a little longer, and see the vis wire change every once in a while, but it never really heard the signal. What do you think, Charles?
Thank you, Dick. Yes, Charles, KC6 UFM. Yeah, Shane, I've done dipoles both ways, with insulated and uninsulated wire. I honestly have never been able to tell a difference. As Dick said, sometimes, like in the spring and the fall when the leaves are coming on or the leaves are going off, you might see a little bit of a change in your SWR, but typically it's not too major. And these days, I guess probably the last 20 years, I have used insulated wire exclusively. And the only thing I will say about that is that it does tend the antenna just slightly longer. And we're talking on HF, maybe 2, 3, 4 inches. So it's really a big deal. Odds are you're going to be using a matching unit of some sort in there anyway. So, I don't think I would worry about trying to figure out exactly how long to cut the wire, and just let the matchbox deal with that. But, it doesn't really make that much difference. But I've mostly used insulated wire recently because, honestly, it's cheaper than the bare stuff that you go to HRO, DX Engineering and buy, and it works good. So back over to you, Dick, KC6 UFM. K4FXC.
Good evening, David. Thank you, Charles. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Well, and by and large, I agree with what Charles said, that for most cases it doesn't really matter a whole lot. The one scenario, if you have obviously the wire in the tree significantly, around the branches and all, touching branches, and you have rain or dry or whatnot, it is liable to change the tuning somewhat. The bigger concern, don't know what kind of power level you're talking about using, but if you're thinking about high power, then I recommend keeping the wire out of the tree and don't have it touching branches or anything. And I say that from experience, having set the top of a pine tree on fire one time about 30 years ago. So just be aware that can happen if you're running enough power in the right scenario. This is mid-summertime when this happened, but anyhow, just thought I'd mention that, K4FXC.
K7FPF.
What kind of power levels are you talking, Shane? You're talking kilowatts, or you're down in the 100-watt range?
And I appreciate the 2 cents about setting the tree on fire, because that is not what I would be wanting to do. So yeah, I may go ahead and insulate just to err on the side of caution.
That'd be the thing to do. Did you answer our question? Have you ever tested a tube on a tube tester, Shane? That's our question for tonight.
And then you have to put me down for a no. I have not.
We got you down for a no. Thanks, David. Thanks, Charles. Who else do we have? Stations with amateur radio related questions.
Delta 6 Charlie Whiskey India KD6 CWI. Good evening, Dick.
Kilo Bravo 1 Zulu Sierra KB1 PZS Bob. Checking in. Bob, we got you in queue here for a question, amateur radio related question. Let me go to Ruben. He was first. What's your question tonight, Ruben? KD6 CWI.
Good evening, Dick. Thank you for doing the net. Question is, I'm building an antenna for a 1.kilowatt wire. I'm using a Ballon Design model 4134. It's a 4-to-1 un-un and a 1.5 to 54 megahertz at 5 kilowatts. That's the Ballon. Question is the length of wire that I need to operate on 160 meters to 6. Right now I'm using polymer engineering. I think it's only 135 foot in length, but I have different lengths that was quoted to me. One from Ballon Design from Bob, KZ5R. His length is 148. And the wire that I'm getting is from Davis RF. So Jeff from Davis RF quoted me 265. So 3 lengths. 135 from Bob Palomar, and then 148 from Bob Ballon Design, and 265 from Jeff from Davis RF. So what's the ideal length over here? So I don't go overboard on the length of the wire. That's the question. I'll bring it back to you, Dick, and happy holidays to everyone.
Send it over to Charles from 135 to 265 using the same bell. What do you think, Charles?
Thank you, Dick. Yeah, Ruben, I would go with the number that Ballon Design gave you, because they are doing that to fit their 4-to-1 Ballon, which I'm not really sure why they're doing a 4-to-1 Ballon to begin with, but irregardless, I'm assuming that they have done some testing and are backing that up. Myself, I would probably go with a 9-to-1 and go with the 148 foot, or preferably the 260-ish. Longer is better when you're working down there on the low bands, but because what you're talking about there is not an end-fed half wave. You're talking about a long wire, so you're a very different animal there. So I would. I would go with what they are recommending from Ballon Designs, because, again, I'm assuming that they have done some sort of testing or at least modeling to make sure that the length that they are recommending is going to work with their device. Because that way you can always turn around and go back to them and say, hey, it's not working. Well, how are we going to fix there, they're just going to tell you, oh, well, we're not going to fix this, but it's going to be a good question how you're going to fix it because you didn't follow our directions, so you're on your own. So back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM.
Thank you, Charles. Ruben, that answer your question, and we got a question for you. Have you ever tested a tube on a tube tester?
In regards with your question, Dick, I think the answer is no. I've never worked on tubes right now. I'm not there yet, but probably down the line I will be. So the answer on that is no. And I think Charles gave an excellent answer. Why I said he gave an excellent answer, because you would want to go with the Ballon that you're getting it from, or so if it's coming from Ballon Design, the recommendation of Davis wires, Davis RF is not going to be, it's too long, and you got to make some adjustments. So follow what Ballon Design does. I'll probably go with 148 feet length, and then I'll report back to the net in regards to how it went and everything else. So far, on the one that I have, it works very well at 160. Happy holidays to everyone, advance Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone listening and to their families. Stay safe as always, enjoy life, and God bless. 73 KD6CWI. Back to Dick.
Thank you, Ruben. Merry Christmas to you as well. Oh, let's go to Bob, East Hartford, Connecticut, KB1PZS. You're new to the East Coast Reflector. I saw your note come up here, Bill. I was getting ready for the net. I guess you were talking. Welcome to the East Coast Reflector. Looks like you do have a current email address on QRZ, and again, our system will automatically send you a welcome letter. What can we do for you tonight, Bob? What kind of an amateur radio-related question do you have for us tonight? And have you ever tested a tube on a tube tester?
Hey, good evening. And, I don't really have any questions. I was just checking in. But I started DMR about a year ago, and I just built this all-star node. It was something I built just last week when I was on vacation for the after Thanksgiving holiday. As far as testing a tube, I have done that. I have tested a tube, and I have gotten into some tube gear as far as receivers, not transmitters. I do not own a transmitter that's tube, but I do have a couple receivers. I have an R390A model, Collins R390A. I have a Collins R392, and I have some Hellcrafters and transoceanic radios. And so I do occasionally test tubes. And what else? It's fun messing around with antennas. I haven't in a while. Mainly operate HF out of the car, so I haven't done much with that. But I did purchase an MCOM, version 2, MCOM 2, version 2, what was that thing? It's an end-fed antenna. Supposed to do it's supposed to do 6 meter down to 160 with a tuner. I haven't tested that yet. I was hoping to get that out there for a field day or a POTA, but I haven't done it this summer, so maybe next summer. Anyways, back to net control, KB1PZS.
Bob, thanks for the information. I'm looking for stations with amateur radio-related questions. This is the question portion of the net. Roger will be taking text check-ins. And by the way, if you don't have our text line, 716-317-9050. 716-317-9050. Only put your call sign in the text field, and you'll get up on our log sheet here. Who else do I have with amateur radio-related questions here tonight? It's 5 past the hour. This is Dick, WB2JPQ. Amateur radio-related questions only.
WV3EGD, Whiskey Bravo 3, Echo Golf Delta.
HCY. I got you, Richard. The Western New York station coming into the Western New York hub. You need to key up, wait a couple of seconds, and give us your call sign twice. HCY, something like that. HCY station only, your call sign twice. HCY, Kilo 2, Hotel, Charlie, Yankee. Alright, Andy. KD2HCY, looks like Andy from Roaming Brook Township, Pennsylvania. Let me go to Richard, Hazelton, Pennsylvania. Wow, two Pennsylvania stations in a row. Richard, good evening, WB3EGD. What can we do for you tonight?
Okay, good evening, Dick, and the rest of the net. Thank you for letting me in. I've got a quick question for Charles, and it involves something I heard him say earlier to Eli in response to his balcony antenna question. I think, Charles, that you were speaking about the Yaesu ATAS antenna as one of the suggestions, but an antenna which I have, and I was intrigued by what I thought I heard you say, that there is a manual control box to use that antenna for a non-Yaesu transceiver. And if I heard you correctly, could you give me some more details about that manual control box? I assume it's an aftermarket item, and I'd like to know something about that. And to answer your question, Dick, yes indeed, there used to be a Sears Roebuck store only a few blocks away from my home, and as a youngster, I would bring my tubes down to their radio department, and they had one of those tall stand-up tube testers, and I made good use of it. Back to you, Dick, WB3EGD.
Yes, Charles, go ahead.
Thank you, Dick. Good evening, Richard. Good to hear from you. But yeah, I don't know if Yaesu still makes it or not, but they did have one available for the ATAS 120 for at least a while. But there are also plans on the internet because basically, the ATAS is just a screwdriver antenna. You got up and you got down. All you need to do is, get the correct pins and put 12 volts and a ground to it. There's one ground wire, one up and one down, and then there are some other wires that on a Yaesu rig are used to automatically control the antenna. But it's very straightforward, and there are some plans out there. The big thing that they will do is tell you what pins to pick up for the up, the down, and the ground, and then you just need a rocker switch to move it up and down. I mean, you get fancy and put it on there and that kind of stuff, but all you really need to do is just key up at very low power, start moving it up, and if the SWR goes the wrong direction, turn around and move it down until it gets to the right point. But I suspect if you just do a Google search Google search, God, I can't even talk tonight, for, ATAS 120 manual control, that'll probably pop up half a dozen or so for you. So back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM.
Charles Richard, was that the answer you were looking for?
Yeah, lots of alternatives there. Thank you very much, Charles, and thank you very much, Dick. I appreciate it. Back to net control from WB3EGD, and happy holidays to all.
Sure, maybe see you tomorrow night in Ask a Elmer B. and Elmer. Andy, KD2HCY. Good evening. What's your question tonight, Andy? KD2HCY. Andy, are you still with me? Andy, let me take one more amateur radio related question, and we'll send it over to Roger. And Vicky's already got, I think I saw her, Vicky's already got 10 text check-ins in queue. Roger will start with 10 text check-ins and go to radio check-ins and alternate back and forth. So one more question, amateur radio related question.
KE2ELI.
Well, Jeff, KE2ELI, good evening to you. Your question, please.
About off-center fed dipoles. I've built a lot of antennas, but some of the ones that use 4-to-1s and 9-to-1s always kind of confound me a little bit. I put up an off-center fed dipole with 86 feet on the radiator side, 45 feet on the counterpoise. And while everything is around 2.5 to 3 SWR, except 20 meters, which is actually around 1.5. I was wondering if that would, I know you got to use a tuner on some bands, but I thought like some bands would be a decent SWR. So wondering if that's common, and if not, what you might recommend to fix that. Over.
Go ahead, Charles. I'll let you take that. If anybody else has got a comment, feel free after Charles to get on the log here, and I'll recognize you.
Yeah, thank you, Dick. Jeff, you didn't say, but there's a whole lot of the OCFs that are fed through open wire line. 450 or sometimes even 300 or higher open wire feeders. But you didn't say if the one that you're messing with there is fed that way or not. But by and large, anything that is fed, any off-center fed that is being fed through a matching transformer, you're going to see SWRs pretty much exactly like what you're seeing. There are a few exceptions to those designs, but most of them that I've fooled with, that's kind of typical. But better performance across the different bands, but it will be a case where 20 will go up a little bit and the other bands will all come down a little bit. You're probably still going to want to have some sort of matching system in there, and of course, if you're using ladder line feeder, you're going to need a balanced feed line, balanced ability on your tuner as well to be able to match that, or go with a 4-to-1 balun right there at the tuner. Some of them have them internal, but in any event, yeah, I think what you're seeing is pretty typical, but it's nothing to get too worried about, because it's going to match up and you're not going to fry your radio. And again, keep in mind, that the real goal here, Jeff, is to get on the air and have some fun. So, don't get too wrapped up around the axle with the little details and trying to eke out that last 0.1 SWR tick. Just get the thing up in the air, get your radio hooked to it, as long as it's not something that's endangering your finals. Just get on the air and have some fun. Back over to you, Dick, KC6UFM.
Thank you again, Charles. Jeff, did it answer your question?
I appreciate the insight. I'm running a 4-to-1 unun that I wrapped from some directions. Definitely the antenna works great. When I tune it up with my radio's tuner, I don't even need an external tuner. I just, things I read kind of indicated I would see some low SWR. But if you think it's fine, then I'm just going to leave it as is, because like I said, it does work. I hit New Zealand this afternoon, and I hit a bunch of stations on 6 meters even today. So, all right, thanks a lot. Back to you.
FXC.
Go ahead, David.
I was going to mention, exactly what Charles was saying. Yeah, get on the air and have fun, and a wire in the air is a wire in the air. A lot of these, claims, you hear about off-center fed antennas and all these kinds of things. They say, well, it's low SWR everywhere and whatnot. Well, what I found is, by and large, that means that in their exact set of special circumstances, how they've got it set up, they've got low SWR. And everybody's setup's different. So while they've got may have a low SWR here and there and something like that, that doesn't mean that I'm going to see it or you're going to see it or somebody else is going to see it. So just as Charles said, hook it to your tuner. As long as the tuner is able to tune it, the antenna system okay, and your transmitter is happy, go for it. And it's still that same piece of wire, and it still radiates the same way. And Dick, I thought I mentioned while I had the key down, yes, indeed, I have used tube testers, and I've got a couple of them, K4FXC.
Figured you had used the tube tester, David. I think it'll be an interesting question tonight just to see. I know our younger generation probably doesn't know what we're talking about, but we used to call them heaters and everything else back in the day. So, thanks, David, and thanks, Charles, for answering our questions tonight. David, of course, as well. I guess that'll do it for me. Come join us. I want to say one more time, come join us tomorrow, or Thursday night on Ask the Elmer, Be an Elmer at 8 o'clock in our Zoom room. And please, get those letters into our Santa, ECR@gmail.com. Let's have a little fun with those letters on the 20th, the 23rd. When Santa reads them off, Santa will be live on the 23rd. And, get your kids, grandkids, let them come in and talk to Santa. We'll just have a little bit of fun. Again, New Year's Eve, some of us, not controllers, will be filling up the Zoom room along with anybody else. Come on in. We want to see if we can fill up the Zoom room. We got room for 99 people, so come early, get a seat, don't miss out. We've only filled that room once on a presentation between David and Kevin Cluster back a couple of years ago. One would come out. We only hold 90. One would drop and somebody else would pop right in. So it was the first time we had ever done that. So I don't think we'll ever fill it up on New Year's Eve, but let's hope we do. And just come in and have a good time with us. Get on the radio, and we'll be talking about something, or maybe a big round table for a few hours. We'll just have a little bit of fun, safe fun here on New Year's Eve. Roger's all ready to go. Thank you, Vicky, for logging. KATKY is always over to you, Roger. KO4QMM. Have a good night, everybody. This is Dick. Double get me to JPQ. KE4ZYQ has a question. Thanks, Dick. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Mike, Roger in Central Florida. I'll be your net controller for the rest of the evening. It's been a fun evening. Hope everybody's having a great holiday season. It's always a fun time of the season. And Wednesday night, tomorrow night, 8 p.m., they got the open mic night. Mark and you never know who might be running the mic, doing the net, so it's always fun. Thursday, we got the Thursday morning 20-meter net. Joe and I have been working on a project, KO4FRR, and it might be a little bit of fun coming soon on the 20-meter net, so keep your ears out for that, and your eyes. We'll see how that goes, and there's always the youth net, Friday night, 8 p.m., and Saturday the 40-meter net. So that's that. Let me take a second here. All right, we got some text check-ins. Always start out with those. They know that they're always there first. They like to get in and out, and then we'll take general check-ins. Let's start at the bottom of the list here. See who we got. WB9 CSP Richard, Paris, Texas. N5RTC Terry, Austin, Texas. W2 RBC Randy, West Seneca, New York. W2AJR Andy, Cheektowaga, New York. K7FPS Nevada. K6AAN Mike, Valley Springs, California. KABYU Roy, Blaisdell, New York. KK4SED Les, Claremont, Florida. And KD2JPP Bob, Gallatin, Tennessee. And our question of the evening is, have you ever tested a tube in a tube tester? Good evening, Bob.
Hey, good evening, Roger, and everybody else on the net. As for tonight's question, I have not tested any tubes. It does bring back a quick memory of the TV repairman that came to the house with that big, huge fold-out box with all the tubes, though. So I know what you're talking about, but I haven't done it myself. Hope everybody stays safe, has a great week. Back to net control.
Thank you, Bob. And yeah, I haven't ever tested any. I've seen them at the Hamcation, pretty cool, but nope, I have not tested them. Let's move on to Les, Claremont, Florida, KK4SED. Good evening, Les.